It was the president who, back then, arranged for me to meet gunmen from the JVP. He shared with them the fears that fuel Sinhalese chauvinism.
Indians are going to occupy this land. They are going to take over this land. And already they have 100,000 soldiers in this country. And our fear is that they might come to down south and they might occupy this area. What will happen to us? And we will be another part of India.
Mahinda said these were patriotic boys who defended the Sinhalese people when the government was selling out to India. They certainly weren't terrorists.
That time they never called them terrorists. They always used the word of insurgents.
So the language has changed?
Language has changed. This is what the difference is. They call them insurgents. They never call them terrorists.
But you did understand the reasons why they took up a gun?
I was not sympathizing the cause. I was sympathizing with them the way that the government handled. I believe in it, even today, that I can't be a terrorist. The government cannot be a terrorist. We can't act like terrorists.
But the allegation of state terrorism is now being made by Tamils and Sinhalese who oppose the war against his government. The disappearances of the late 1980s introduced a culture of impunity into Sri Lankan politics. Murder and abduction almost became an acceptable tool of the state's counterinsurgency policy. Once again, mothers and wives are coming forward with stories of missing loved ones.
The music teacher who lives across the street saw it. He said my husband was bundled away in a red van.
4 months after her wedding, this woman's husband disappeared. She fears for her life, and we've concealed her identity. The army had earlier accused her husband, a van driver, of delivering supplies into tiger-controlled areas.
As soon as I heard about his disappearance, I went to the army camp and made inquiries. Only then did they say they would start a search.
She has heard nothing since from the authorities. Anyone accused of links to the fight for a Tamil homeland is a potential target, even aid workers.
7 of my co-workers were abducted and executed, tortured, raped, one woman and 6 men, by paramilitary forces aligned to the government. And everybody was afraid to speak. I mean, over the last 2 years, there's been about 2,500 disappearances of Tamils. Bodies are just found on the side of the road. Tamils with their hands bound and signs of torture.
There are checkpoints throughout the capital, Colombo. They're intended to detect Tamil tigers infiltrating from the north. But the controls have instilled fear amongst the 300,000 Tamils living in the city. Critics of the government have been silenced. To oppose the war is seen as an act of treachery.
Journalists can't speak, they can't write, the parliamentarians can't open their mouth, anybody can arrest at any time, the business people can't live, they can be abducted, millions can be taken. By whom? By the armed forces, by the paramilitary groups working with the armed forces.
Does it disappoint you that some of the human rights groups now are making the same allegations against your government? That
yes, I'm very disappointed with them, you know. Most of these people are paid agents.
The human rights groups?
Some of the human rights groups here. And some, of course, is misled by the propaganda of the LTT. I have given clear instructions to the army, the forces, and the police that they can't take a man without a warrant.
After this president comes to power, within the last 3 years, 4 of our parliamentarians were killed or murdered by this regime, I will say. I am advised by so many people, don't criticize the government. As a parliamentarian, don't I have the right to speak? But I am having the fear within myself.
A military victory over the Tamil tigers will not end the grievances and hatreds that made thousands of Tamils pick up a gun 3 decades ago. Suresh fought for a Tamil homeland in the 1980s. He then gave up the gun and tried to defend the rights of Sri Lanka's Tamils within the democratic system.
I surrendered the weapons. We joined the so-called democratic mainstream. Now I am totally fed up. I am totally frustrated. Why the hell I have to be in this parliament, risking my life? If I am alone and suppressed by so many forces, what can I do? You want me to get killed? You want me to die? You want me to perish all my community? What can I do? Tell me the alternative.
But to pick up a gun. The Sri Lankan government wants to extinguish the idea of an independent Tamil homeland. History has shown, though, that ideas are not usually defeated on a battlefield. The Sri Lankan government has used the language of the global war on terror to try to sanction its brutality. And in doing so, it has proudly claimed to be an ally of the West in fighting a shared enemy, terrorism.